my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video. Yes, y'all have one. I saw some comments saying y'all wanted me to do more talky-drivey videos. And of course, you know your boy's got the sword riding shotgun. Well, if you watched the jerky video where I reviewed those, let me see what it says again. Members Mark jerkies, which this video is actually made on the same day, but probably won't get uploaded on the same day because you know I'm fucking horrible at uploading this shit in chronological order. But in any case, once I make a backlog. But in any case, so I mentioned at the end of this video that I'm wearing an Attack on Titan shirt and Levi Ackerman is my favorite character. And I had the thought, could Levi Ackerman be considered a true swordsman? Now, I suppose you're going, I'm going to a lot of commenters saying, well, Outlaw, he uses a sword, so he must obviously be a swordsman. Well, yes and no. See, you can be a sword user, as in you use swords to fight occasionally, and then a true dedicated swordsman uses pretty much nothing but a sword or blade of any object or any size. And as I mentioned in my previous video, I have a 4-gallon jug of water with a PEX pipe coming out of it as a straw. And before anyone says anything, PEX pipe is food safe because it's the same piping that is used for the water lines of your house. But I digress. So, the question proposed is Levi Ackerman a swordsman? Or a true swordsman, at least. And my response is kind of a mixture of yes and no. And let me explain. Is he a sword user? Yes, definitely he is a sword user. All of Attack on Titans, at least the Scout Corps and anyone who fights the Titans, uses the ODM gear and the blades. This does, in an essence, make everyone in Attack on Titan that fights, you know, up until they start developing guns that are capable of dealing with these things that don't have to be mounted to a train track set of railroads on top of the wall, because yes, they do have massive cannons on top of the wall to fight these things. They also have, later on in the show, these basically handheld bazookas that shoot RPGs at the Titans, for lack of better words. But again, this got me thinking. Alright? Are any of them truly swordsmen? And the answer really, I hesitate to say this, but no, they're not. And again, I know I'm beating around the bush here, but the reason I say they're not true swordsmen is because they don't fight every single battle and altercation they're in with a sword. This is not only with the Titans, but with each other. Because this is especially true with Eren after he discovers that he's a Titan shifter. Bro stops using the ODM gear pretty much altogether and just relies on his Titan powers. Alright? But you know, I don't know, this video, I'm going to leave a disclaimer. This video was not one collaborated with a lot of forethought, and this is kind of like a rambly thing that I'm making partially out of boredom. But I suppose if you want to be technical, Eren definitely is a sword user up to a point, and then he's a brawler. Levi, on the other hand, he when he's not fighting Titans, he fights with his bare hands. Alright, we don't always see him with an ODM gear, and a true swordsman, whenever he's not in a fight, he has his sword by his side. Regardless of if he's going to be, whether he knows he's going to be in an active fight or not, he always has a sword by his side. A sword user usually has to pick up a sword or go get a sword for a fight. Or will pick up a sword mid-fight and use it. So that's why I say that Levi isn't a true swordsman, because we don't see him with his ODM blades on him at all times. Alright? Now, some of those, who the hell are the... Comment down below who the guys who are supposed to be guarding the wall are. Those drunks we see in the first episode. You could technically consider them true swordsmen in Attack on Titan, because they always have their swords on them, regardless of if they're in a fight or not. But since Levi doesn't have his sword on him at all times, by the definition of what we established to be a true swordsman is whether they're in a fight or not, whether they're in their casual life or not, or whether they're sleeping or not, they always have their swords nearby or on their person. And this is important because if we look back in history, if you are a mercenary, for example, or someone who makes their living by carrying around a sword or a blade, then you're never going to go anywhere without that sword or blade. Alright? It's the same with an archer. A bow user is someone who will use a bow if there's no other weapon around, but a true archer will keep their bow with them at all times, even when they're sleeping. Alright? This is the same for a spearman, anyone who uses a halberd. And a user is usually just a fighter or a grappler skilled in using a weapon. A true weapons master, which is usually categories that anyone who specifically specializes in a particular weapon would fall into: a bow master, a sword master, a spear master, a halberd master, a hammer master, an axe master. These are all true swordsmen, halberdiers, which is which I believe is the correct term for a halberd user, a halberdier, or I'm probably butchering its pronunciation. But you get my point. Levi Ackerman is not what I would consider a true anime swordsman. However, on the opposite coin, characters like Zorro from One Piece, ronuri Kenshin from, the anime actually has two names. You could call it Samurai X or ronuri Kenshin, but ronuri Kenshin from Samurai X, Samurai Jack, He-Man. Yes, he does count as a true swordsman, because even as Prince Adam, he either always has the sword nearby when he's sleeping in his bed, which when he's sleeping in his bed, he keeps the sword in a safe behind a painting, because it was shown in one of the OG 80s episodes. Or when he's trying to sneak away and nap in the stables, he has that bitch on his back. Alright? Liono from ThunderCats. Whenever he's awake, the Sword of Omens is usually either a clip to his thigh, with the claw shield's magic and some kind of magnetic force that I guess attracts it to his fur or some shit. Or in the sword chamber. The point of the matter is it's always within distance for Liono to grab. And with Liono, it's a little easier because no matter where the Sword of Omens is, Liono is able to call the sword back to his hand simply by saying, "Sword of Omens, come to my hand." And the sword will respond and fly directly into Liono's hand. Alright? I could go on with the true swordsman in anime and I guess a few cartoons as well. But the point I'm trying to make here is that while Levi Ackerman is by no slouch a swordsman, in the fact that he is skilled at using swords in the terms of the ODS gear, and that he mainly is the brawler, fighter, hand-to-hand archetype build, he's not a true swordsman. We could call him a sword user and a swordsman because he knows how to utilize a sword effectively. But a true swordsman never leaves his blade unaccompanied or always has it within a distance that he can easily get a hold of it. It's like with me at my house, in my room, there's about 3 or 4 sword racks that surround my bed. Alright? And I keep the Warrior O right at my headboard with the hilt pointed to the right because I do not believe that there is ever a true era of peace. There's always some violence somewhere. Alright? For this world to truly be at peace, everyone would have to think, act, and be the exact same way, and that is not ever going to happen. That is impossible. That is a pipe dream that will never happen. No matter where you go in the world, no matter how peaceful or utopian-ish the society looks, there's always a dark underbelly to that. And that dark underbelly is what I prepare against. So yes, all of my swords, their hilts are pointed to the right side of my room pointed directly at the head of my bed, so that if anyone tries to jump into my house or get into my house in the middle of the night, I can grab that bitch and cut you before you have a chance to do anything, and I will cut. But that's enough philosophy. Back to the actual topic at hand. So that is basically why I believe that the majority of swordsmen in Attack on Titan are not true swordsmen, but sword users, and I guess you could call them pseudo swordsmen in the fact that they know how to operate. They know how to actually use the blades, but the way that they use the blades, they're kind of basic. All they do is cut. And the reason I say this is because we never see them really training with the swords, learning how to block, parry, riposte, how to escape a bind. They don't really teach fencing, really. They teach you how to cut a Titan's nape. And that's more Tamashigiri and test cutting. So learning how to cut and learning how to fight with a sword are two different things. In cutting, you have a very rigid stance that you take, and that very rigid stance is how you perform the cut. It's a kata, basically, a form on how to. In swordsmanship, your stance could be all over the damn place. Your sword could be wherever the hell it wants to be, or whatever the hell it needs to be. You could have a sword pointed directly upside down if the situation calls for it. Fighting with a sword is a lot more messy than proper cutting. And that's what they teach the scouts to do. They teach them to basically just cut the nape of the Titan and be done. Because the nape is where the human body that the Titan originally had is. The nape of the Titan's neck is the back of a human's neck in the Titan shifters. Now, I will say this. Levi Ackerman, he does seem like the most highly trained swordsman of the group. And no dips on my boy Levi. But he does seem to have the most techniques and skills and variations of cutting that we see in the show, which you could actually call techniques. So while Levi Ackerman isn't a true swordsman, he is still a swordsman and sword user, if that makes sense. I don't know. Comment down below what you think my noble band of outlaws, if I'm just talking out my ass like I said earlier in the video, or if I'm bringing up some really valid points that could be potentially used in a future Attack on Titan video. And let me know if you want me to do more Attack on Titan videos, because I actually have a lot to say about Attack on Titan, and I know what you're going to say when I say what I have to talk about in Attack on Titan. You're going to probably say, that don't sound like Outlaw, but it does. I like them too. And that is use of more guns. And the thing is, you're probably wondering, well, Outlaw, why are you so pro-gun? It's like, well, I've always been pro-gun. It's just that instead of the modern tactical rifles of today, I'm more of a fan of the rifles of yesteryear. The lever actions, the bolt actions, the pump action shotguns, single shots, black powder, your grandpa's and their father's guns, basically. I've always liked the old cowboy guns and guns of yesteryear. That's why my favorite type of handgun is a revolver. But I digress. There's a real missed opportunity for guns. Alright? And explosives, and bombs, and grenades, and more bullshit. But, as I said before, my noble band of outlaws, let me know down in the comments below what you think. And if you want me to do an Attack on Titan video where I go on a hysterical rant of why there's not more high explosives and firearms used against literal human kaiju, comment down below. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.